why aren't Canadian clients more interested in my solutions? Well, if you're not born in Canada, but you're doing business here, you're in the right place. Click the subscribe button, set up the alert, and if this video specifically is useful to you, let us know by clicking the like button. Here are a few things I realize about people who believe Canadians are not interested. Why? What are Canadians doing that people are thinking, oh, they're not interested in what I'm selling to them? First complaint I hear is, oh, they don't understand how great my solution is. I'm showing them, trying to show them all these wonderful things that we already did very successfully at much larger clients, a much more diverse client base in my country of origin, but Canadians seem to be very narrow-minded, very focused on just one thing. They don't understand how great my solution is. The second complaint I hear is, well, Canadians don't seem to appreciate how differentiated we were back home. You know, back home we had to face so many challenges, so many different things, and we were able, against all odds and in an environment that not necessarily was the most favorable, and we built these wonderful solutions that we now brought to the Canadian market, but they don't seem to appreciate that. If I was able to create such a wonderful solution in an environment that was much more challenging, it's going to be a piece of cake for me to deliver fantastic value here to this Canadian client, but they don't seem to get that. They don't understand how great a supplier I may be to them. The third thing I hear from people is, well, Canadian clients, they don't seem to grasp how hard it was to deliver the results we did back home, right? Because if they did appreciate how hard it was, they're gonna see how good my business is. Wow, if these guys were able to create this solution under those conditions, wow, of course they can serve me super well here, including everything that may be unexpected here. So I should hire this supplier from this country, or this person who has this business here in Canada but gets all this wealth of experience from their country of origin. The fourth thing is like, well, they don't see the potential of what a great supplier we are, how flexible we are, how creative we are, how we are able to operate under tough situations, and we can handle every curved ball that is sent to us. Okay, so this is a group of reasons why I have noticed people believe that Canadians are not interested. They say, wow, they're not interested because they don't see the full depth of how good we are as a supplier and how great our solution is. So here's where the confusion comes from. And this is what Canadians are actually thinking. And I have to start here to say that who's Canadian? Canadian, in this definition and all the videos we have here, Canadian is anybody born in any country but who are now in Canada long enough that they have developed a local way of thinking. So I include myself as an immigrant entrepreneur because I wasn't born in Canada. I moved here, I was 28 years old, so that was a long time ago. But I also see myself as Canadian because I developed my local way of thinking. I think as a Canadian today. Okay, so that's a Canadian. Canadian is not like somebody who was born in Canada. Okay, just to clarify. Okay, so where's the confusion? What are Canadians actually thinking when they see all these wonderful things that you have done back home, or that you have with your international client base, and about your background, your reputation, and all that? Here's the first problem. Canadians are not worried and not focused about your reputation. So when you bring to the table a lot of history about back home, the big schools you studied, or the big client base that you had, the fact that you served big multinationals back in your country, reputation, it's a given in the minds of a Canadian. They think, well, if you are in business and if you're here in Canada and if you have something, well, yeah, I get it. You must be good. Don't waste your time trying to convince me that you are good, that you have a good reputation. I already believe you. What I want to see is what specifically you can do for me, okay? So that's the first thing. They're not too worried about your reputation. The second thing is that they're not looking in a supplier like you for broad abilities and complexities like the way you were used from back home. Back home, in an emerging country especially, it's important for a supplier to be flexible. Wow, a curved ball is coming and it was challenging operationally to deliver this. The regulations, we had to find ways around to make everything compliant. In Canada, things are much simpler once you understand what they are. So people are not looking for broad sets of abilities or complexities. They are very focused at the problem at hand. Don't come telling me that you can do like cartwheels and backflips and all this kind of stuff. I want to know, like, can you get this simple thing done? better than anybody else that I already have access to, right? They are focused on the problem at hand, and they do not get distracted beyond that. So when you, as a foreign-born business person in Canada, try to talk to a Canadian about all these wonderful things that you did back home, you start to lose the attention of Canadian, because what they want to know, they don't want to hear about all the wonderful things you did back home. I mean, they may respect, oh, good for you, that's great, but that has nothing to do with me. They start to get nervous. They're like, yeah, sure, you've been talking about this thing from back home like for X minutes now, but what can you do specifically for me? So what ends up happening here, what I realized that the problem, the confusion actually comes from, is that immigrant business people in Canada tend to spend too much time where they would like Canadians to see their achievements overall from back home and extrapolate those achievements so they can see why we're going to be a good supplier. You see, it's too much work for a Canadian. They're not going to do that. They want to see more straight to the point. But how can we do that? Let me talk about a few specific points of how can you do that, right? By the way, we have here our Your Business in Canada platform that you can be on board as a foreign-born business entrepreneur. You're going to have other people like you in Canada, in this Canadian journey, generating better results in Canada. And we from Lucalex, we're here by your side throughout this process to deliver results. Okay, you may be focused then on solving the wrong problems, right? Remember, the client is not looking for your ability to overcome obstacles that exist back home especially, but likely are not going to be here. They're not worried about your resilience, your creativity, your resourcefulness to find a solution in a complicated environment. They're not thinking about that. They don't see themselves in the cases that you present sometimes, right? If you show great similarity between what they're looking for, their situation, and something you've done in the past, then you're going to have their attention. Remember, this video here is about why aren't Canadian clients more interested in my solution? So I'm going to give it to you now. How can they be very interested in your solution? Very simple. You give them 4 things, okay? You show this Canadian client that there is a very great similarity between what you have already delivered and their situation in 4 dimensions. First, we already dealt in the past with very similar companies. So you see, you're a client that do like this. You produce this kind of thing, you have this type of problem, and you are in this geography, in this size. Yes, we have a client very similar to that. Similar type of company, similar size, similar type of problem that they had, and we delivered results. We stepped in, they had this problem, and after X time doing whatever, we gave them these results with this return over their investment over this length of time. That what is gonna get you Canadian attention, right? You have to be able to focus on the problem at hand and demonstrate how your business has already solved it in a very similar circumstance. Not all the rest of the great things that you have done, okay? If you do this, they're gonna get your attention. Here are 2 more videos in this direction that will be helpful in this journey.